Hey everybody, welcome to the Scott Newby Experience, my home theater, which is a Dolby Atmos home theater experience with 18-inch subwoofers. What inspired me to create this home theater has just been a lifelong passion of audio and video from since I was a little kid. Some of my first memories growing up watching my dad in the hobby, and it just has a ton of nostalgia. I'm still lucky enough to this day to enjoy the home theater hobby with my father. He's got his own home theater and I built one, and I believe that it's just an expression of my personality. It's how I like to present myself. It's kind of loud, but it's a lot of fun. How I feel about my space and my experience in this room, I have a lot of different feelings about it, but I would think the most important feeling is that I always have a room in the house that I can kind of go chill, relax. It's a nice getaway after a rough day at work or after we get the kids put to bed, that I just have that one small area of the house that literally you can just like go into imagination land for an hour or two, and I think that's very important. A lot of the films that really showcase this theater is action movies, explosions, gunshots, anything with Atmos, an explosive mix. I really get into anything that really portrays low frequency effects and Atmos. This theater was built on the premise of I wanted something to be extremely dynamic, regardless of the content. The most challenging part about building this room is I set my goals on what I wanted to do, which would be a very high SPL setup where I knew I wanted to be in the 150s, like 150 dB wise, and just being able to get that amount of subwoofers into a space. And the hurdles I overcome was I needed the space to be big enough to fit me and my family, do a full Atmos setup because I wanted the movie experience to be top notch, but still have that extreme playback capability. So I built the room and designed it in such a way that we could fit 4 people, have a large screen, have a full Atmos system, and still be able to pump out some serious SPL numbers. So fitting 11 speakers plus 18 18s in roughly a 14 by 16 foot room and not make it feel super overcrowded was a task. And still working on little things here and there. I believe that we're all always working on something, but I genuinely feel very, very happy with the outcome. When I host a movie night, I like it to be something that people look forward to. Like that's a special event. Like, hey, we're going to go over and hang out with Scott and Kat and watch a movie. So I just make sure this room is always completely spotless and clean and ready for demos. I just like knowing that the room is always ready for a viewing. But it always smells good. It's nice and cool and relaxing. And we just like people, we always give them the best seats in the house because we can rewatch a movie whenever we want. But I want to give people that when the movie's over, the response that we love to hear is like, first of all, I can't believe that you can replicate a movie theater in your house. And also a lot of people are like, we didn't even know this kind of stuff existed. So the home theater has not only impacted my own mental well-being because it gives me something to focus on for myself as a distraction if life gets crazy, and it does for all of us, but it's brought me and Kat closer together, the family, me and all the girls. Kat and the girls come down here and watch a movie, and when Callie was a baby, she would like sleep on Kat's chest while we're watching a movie. So it was always it was nice to have a room in the house to where the family felt that they were getting out of the house, but we never even left the house. So it's nice having that magical space you can share with your family and your friends. And I give this advice to everybody. If you're planning on building your own home theater, instead of just going into it blind, go visit some home theaters. I've driven and I've flown to check out other people's. Go, find somebody in your town, or even if you got to spend $200 to fly somewhere and back, get those ideas, listen to other people's turmoil that they went through, the mistakes that they made, listen to as many, go to events like how M-Wave was, where you can check out so many different brands, anywhere from like SVS to JTR to Ascendo to whatever, and don't just buy blindly, because I think that a huge mistake that people make is that they just go by what they read, and then they're like, oh, because this one guy said a speaker was harsh. Room placement, room acoustics. Man, oh, I'm gonna get murdered for that one. So do your research. You don't want to put a bunch of money and a bunch of time, and then you're like, it's movie night, and you're like, something sounds off. Definitely, you cannot do enough homework beforehand, for sure. Save yourself some aggravation and some money, and reach out. If you're like on a Facebook group or an AVS group, or even reach out to like whoever you connect with as a YouTube creator and be like, hey man, I live in Seattle. Do you happen to know of a Seattle home theater group, or just Chicago or Dallas? Or man, dude, if you are walking into it blind, visiting one home theater is going to completely change your whole aspect of like what's important to you. Is a huge screen? Is it loud? What do you want? Comfortable seat? People just, they don't care about certain stuff, and they really care about others. Write down on a piece of paper what's important to you. I want a big screen. I want loud bass. I only want to spend $10,000 on everything. And then you can kind of just go shopping from there. This theater is a representation, I believe, all of our home theaters or media spaces or living room setups is basically an extension of our personality. If you customize a car, you customize your home theater, you're just portraying your way in such a manner that you can probably find a lot about me by just walking through my home theater spaces and kind of get an idea of who I am. And I put a lot of love and care into this setup and a lot of time dialing it in. So when people come over and say, wow, that sounds really good, then it makes you feel good. Like, I made it sound like that. I set the speakers up. I hooked the wires up. I did the calibration or whatever. And it's cool to not only enjoy it yourself, but somebody else enjoy it and be appreciative of it. It really, it's kind of silly in a way, like for the people that don't really get it. But when somebody's like, dude, your system really sounded great, it makes you feel good. I'm always a big fan of the movie theaters. The nostalgia of it, me bringing Callie to the movie theaters. You get crazy teenagers that talk and throw popcorn, the prices suck on everything. But at the end of the day, I think that once or twice a year, everybody should just go to the movie theater and maybe just support that industry. That's how I feel, because I like, hey, there's a new movie coming out that's demo worthy. That'll probably sound, everything to me sounds better in my theater because I like my bass the way, and this, you can pause, you can grab a drink, you can go to the bathroom, you can eat a sandwich, you can do whatever you want. But for all of us in this hobby, I think even though it's an inconvenience, that the cinemas are still, this is why we do this. Or why would we say, hey man, my home sounds just like a theater, because that's what we're all striving for, or better. My biggest thing that I would have done differently throughout this whole hobby was listening to other people. You certainly find people that you connect with and that your values are very, very close to the same. But whatever you read or you listen to, is you got to realize that everybody's habits and listening habits and preferences are different. You can literally listen to 3 sets of speakers and have 3 guys there, and each guy pick a different speaker that they love. Certain brands, and we'll never hear the brand bash on anybody, but certain brands I bought sight unseen because everybody raved about them, and they were mediocre to me at best. And I was like, man, so I spent all that money, I'm selling at a loss. I wasted a lot of time. I lugged that heavy thing up and down stairs when I should have went and experienced for myself. So now, if I'm interested in something, I'm driving. If it's 10 hours away, I'm driving, I'm checking it out. Is that something I want to invest in? And I think that that's an important thing that I bring to the hobby for other people, is that certain stuff I have in here might not be readily available for you to check out. Well, you can come check it out here and see if it's something that's a good fit for you. The audio experience in this theater, for me personally, and the way that I built it from the ground up, and this has seen a few different ways, because for me in the theater, I did a custom calibration the way that I wanted to, because the audio experience that I wanted in this space, I wanted it to be unique. I wanted a strong Atmos presence, and I wanted a very strong LFE presence. That when you feel a shotgun blast, I mean, it gives you goosebumps. It makes you feel a certain kind of way, almost to the point of like you feel kind of uncomfortable. And that's what I've achieved in here. Some people love that, some people hate it. That was my personal, and that's just my personality coming out, is that when you listen to that, be like, oh, this is his personality that we're listening to. But I'm very happy with the turnout of it, because I was finally able to set the parameters of how extreme I wanted it to be, not on my equipment's capabilities, but of my actual physical and hearing capabilities. And my current iteration of that has been the only time I've ever been able to do that. That's why this is so exciting for me to not only experience and keep experiencing for myself, but to share with people like you and our friends and our family. For the video aspect in this room, I'm a more audio guy, but I certainly appreciate good video, and that's why I really love the video in this room. For years, I was doing the video, the audio approach came stronger first, and now that I feel that my audio is much more in line, now I'm going with like the acoustic screen, and I'm really starting to appreciate the video side of more, because I'm not worried about the audio. So my theater, if you followed me or you've joined me through, my journey, is the audio got done first, and now I'm slowly, my JVC projector is a few years older now, but I'm now acoustic screen, and I'm like, man, it's so cool that the video, like the center's where it's supposed to be, and the screen material, because I never had a nice screen. So I'm just starting to really appreciate the more video side of things now. But the audio came first. But I love them both, but the video presence always kind of like came second.
Welcome back to Epic Home Theater Tours. I'm your host, Hatoraid Cowboy, and you already know who this guy is. I've got Scott, the man himself. Base brings us together. We are in his private home theater down in his basement in Chicago. And what's up, Scott?
Man, what is up, brother? Man, we long overdue, man. We've known each other for a while, met at other events, so it's cool to actually have you in the city of Chicago and us traveling around together. It's certainly quite the experience.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for organizing this. We're doing 8 home theater tours. We did one yesterday. We recorded your 2-channel setup with Kat, which you guys will see if you haven't seen it already. And then we're doing this home theater tour right now. So this is the 3rd one. After this, we're gonna head out, have a 2.5-hour drive pretty much to go do another home theater, and that'll be 4. So then I still have 4 more to do over the next couple of days. So right now, we're going to talk a little bit about your home theater. I'm going to have you take me around the room and, show me everything that you're using. But to get started, why don't you tell me a little bit about your home theater journey briefly? Maybe how did you get into, I know we've talked, off screen, you've been into this your whole life. Obviously it's evolved. What started your love and passion for home theater?
Ever since I was a little kid, like some of my very first memories, and I've said this just in my own personal life all the time, is just hanging out with my dad and going to pawn shops or circuit cities, him going through newspapers, finding gear, selling gear, buying gear, new, used, whatever, and watching him build his own experience rooms. And I was like, man, that's so cool. And as I just got older, I just wanted to keep building my own setup. And even now it's kind of cool to this day, because now him and I both have our own theater setups, and we check out each other's theater setups. So, and I get to experience that with my family, that Cat and the girls, and also my folks. So it's got a lot of nostalgia, a lot of meaning, and a lot of friends are involved in this. So it's just a lot of good memories, a lot of good times.
That's awesome. So you mentioned that your dad has his own home theater too. What's that like?
So him and I are very similar. He gets in the bass too, not as extreme as I do. And he had a lot of really cool equipment that I actually regret, because I bought some of it off of him and I ended up selling as I went through life. And now he's got like an Anthem processor and new 4 of the new Klipsch subs and all new Klipsch speakers and a JVC projector, and he built himself a cool spot to hang out. And you know, he's retired now, enjoying some things. So it's just, I don't know, it's kind of cool because I remember my dad growing up, big Shure Vega speakers and Klipsch subwoofers and stuff. So, you know, what's the saying? Like the apple don't fall too far. Yeah,
too far from the tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool, man. So where does he live? Does he live close by? Do you guys?
Yeah, he's like 15, 20 minutes away.
Okay.
Callie's actually going over there to hang out tomorrow because we have all these people coming over tomorrow night. So she loves going to spend time with my folks, and I visit them usually at least once a week, talk to them on the phone almost daily. So I'm very, very lucky and blessed to still have them in my life. So I'm certainly appreciating that.
Cool. Okay, so you've got a complete JTR system here, which we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about all your gear, have you take me around the room, you know, screen, projector, all that stuff. I know you've had different iterations of your home theater. How would you compare maybe like some of your first iterations of your home theater when you got started to the insane craziness that you have now? What's that dynamic like?
I think as I got older, and obviously, I mean, usually as we get older, we get a little bit more play money, we'll call it. So, and I always kind of knew where I wanted to end up, and obviously it takes a lot of steps to get there. The reason why I ended up where I am now is this is more of like an ultimate in-game type scenario for me. You know, there's still a few things that I'll add or change, but I always built systems that I wanted to be high impact. I mean, to impress myself most of all, but then like you have your friends over and they're like, wow, you know, I've never experienced something like that. That's cool. It's just, I was always had a limitation for years, and this isn't bashing Klipsch at all because I used a Klipsch THX Ultra series for 12 years, is I love the way they sound. It's just, if I wanted to listen at an extreme spirited level, like reference or above, I would blow tweeters and stuff like that. But I still love the way they sound, so I put up with it. And actually, when I sold them, there was like 6 brand new tweeters in a box I sold them with because I had stock. So I was like, I just want to build something where I'm the limitation, not my equipment's limitation. You know, because for years, you know, if you guys are like the Edge of Tomorrow scene, or just, you know, certain music or certain scenes where people are like, hey, those are subwoofer destroyers, or like, watch your volume on that. And I lived my whole life with systems that I always had to watch that stuff. So I was like, you know what? I want to go over the edge and build a system to where you're like, well, you might want to turn that down because it's going to hurt me. Or like, and that's where I'm at, because, you know, I met with the JTR guys years ago, and I made that transition slowly over the years, because I was experiencing something I'd never experienced at a JTR show that was more impressive than what I was doing in my smaller room. And I'm like, he's not smoking drivers, blowing amps. So now, like, you know, me and Jordan did some spirited demos in here. There's no distortion.
None.
All the amps and the subs are running cool. You know, it's pushing your comfortability. You know, even Jordan at one point was like, hey, tomorrow when we're going louder than this, I'm definitely doing earplugs. So we had those reference capabilities, even from the single digits and up. And like in this case scenario, we were pushed to where we're comfortable, but we were the limiting factor on the volume control. It wasn't like, man, I'd love to turn this up for you, but I'm probably going to blow a speaker. And I just wanted a system to where I didn't have to worry about that.
Nice. Well, you definitely don't have to worry about it, because I mean, our ears are going to go out long before your speakers blow, you blow a tweeter or something like that. Yeah, and those last couple demos, I was like, all right, this is running pretty hot, sounds good, but tomorrow I'm definitely plugging my ears, because, you know, I want to experience what it feels like, you know, 150 dB, but I also want to be able to keep my hearing, because we got 5 more of these to do. And then I still got to go back home and still got to make YouTube videos. So it's going to be a fun experience. I think tomorrow we're having how many people come over?
There's like 20 people coming over. So for the people that are curious, like today, the bass might have been hitting in the 130 range. And I hope you guys watch the impression video that Jordan's going to share, because he's going to grab impressions from all the guests that come and their experience. And I wanted Jordan to do his first 150 dB with a group of guys and catch his natural reaction, so you guys can all kind of check that out. But yeah, tomorrow, like 20 people are coming in. I basically put like an invite thing out. Hey, Jordan's, Jordan's obviously fairly popular on YouTube, and especially in our community. So guys are like, yeah, I'm going to come down from Canada. I'm going to fly in from here. I'm going to drive in from there. So tomorrow night, everybody's going to cut loose a little bit. We're going to order some food. Everybody's going to get some demos. And Jordan's like going to grab the camera, just take some natural reaction videos, because that can just kind of portray to our friends or the community like, wow, these guys are having fun and this is why they're having fun. And I just wanted to bring those people in because you watch somebody, and you're like, wow, I really relate to that guy. And now you get to come and hang out with them and meet with them. And that was a cool thing about Jordan coming. I was like, hey, if you guys wouldn't mind meeting you. He's like, dude, bring everybody over. So, and then that's, once again, with kind of like how Kat and I started Bass Brings Us Together. It's just about bringing the community together. These people, we're not selling them nothing. It's like, hey, we want your company. Come hang out with us. We're going to have a good time. And they're stoked, man. People are pumped.
Yeah, I'm excited. Okay, so one thing I wanted to highlight, which I'm not sure if you guys have seen the 2-channel video that we did with Scott and Kat, but one thing I want to highlight is that this is predominantly a male-driven hobby in this home theater that we do. You don't typically find women who, enjoy the hobby. You might have some wives or some girlfriends or, whatever that enjoy it or that tolerate it, but your wife, Kat, also is part of this home theater 2-channel journey. So why don't we have her come downstairs and talk to her a little bit about, sharing this experience, the home theater, with you.
Yeah, no, yeah, Kat has been more than supportive when we first met. Like I explained in another video, she didn't understand it, but she was still supportive. But now, she's literally the co-owner of the company that we own, which I don't want to make that sound like a big deal. It's just more to protect the name in case one day we do something big with it. But I was like, hey, let's start this, corporation and let's do this together. And she's come out, helping design stuff and colors and shirt configurations. And like, if I got people coming in, she's helping out with like schedules and stuff like that. So it's certainly cool to just share that with her. And, we're laying around being lazy at night and we're just kicking ideas off of each other. And it's nice to, she doesn't get in all the technical stuff. She appreciates like the companionship and the friendships that everything is about, because we both, and everybody realizes that, life can sometimes be a real pain. And it's cool to have fun things to look forward to, or people that support you. Everybody that comes over here is very supportive. And, these guys that we hang out with, these are guys you're messaging at 8 o'clock and they're like, dude, what do you think of this TV? What do you think of that? And you're in big group chats with everybody. And it's a nice feeling because, there's no egos, there's no judgmental stuff. It's just like, we want to hang out and be your friend, man. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, so let's get Kat in here and have her impressions of what it's like to share this theater with you.
Hi, my name is Kat. Welcome to our home theater.
For her and I's relationship, the home theater has brought her and I closer together for like date nights and stuff like that. If we have a new release or something, there's actually anticipation like, hey, in 2 weeks, we got to watch this movie down in the theater. So sometimes I'm down here by myself, but it's cool to just know that her and I are going to experience a movie that neither one of us has seen down in the theater. So it certainly builds a lot of excitement.
Yeah, it's definitely been a basis of many date nights of, making making the plan of going out to dinner and coming home and watching new releases together.
I believe that Kat and I's personalities, we're different on some things, the same on others, but she's watched plenty of movies in the theater that she normally wouldn't. And at the end, so like say a new Star Trek movie comes, she's like, I'm not a Star Trek person. She watched the first one. She's like, all right, let's knock the rest of them out. And the same thing, she'll hit me up with like A Star is Born or something like that. And I might not be that interested in it. But at the end, I'm like, wow, that was actually a pretty good watch.
Yeah, you've definitely got me to watching things that I would have never expected to like the Mad Maxes. That was recent. Yeah.
To enhance the theater experience, I vacuum. I It's crazy, guys. I vacuum before and after every use in the theater. It's an OCD thing with me. But so basically, like Kat stated, we make dinner. Like we say, hey, next Friday night, the new Transformer movies drop. She's like, let's go to dinner here. We'll go to dinner. We'll come home. We'll get in our PJs. We'll grab some blankets. We'll fire up the movie. And for us, that is an absolute, just amazing Friday night, getting to hang out with each other. Good food, good movie, and the theater just kind of, that's the nightcap of that night. So
There's been plenty of times too where we like just killed a series.
yeah, we'll watch back to back, and we
Yeah.
just get tied up into something. So it's certainly, in many ways, have brought, say, our community together, but also her and I together.
So I really enjoy the theater that we have because, it's brought a lot of people, not only friends, but new friends. We've had the kids' friends over. We've done family movies. It was a lot of fun when Callie was a baby and we would sit down here and, watch all the kid ones and she would really get into it and it was fun.
Having a home theater to me has been cool because not only is it gives me a place to like play with my toys, but it brings the family together, it brings our friends together. We look forward to spending movie nights together. And it's exciting for me that Kat would shoot me a message out of nowhere and be like, hey, next week the new Transformers dropping. We got to check that out downstairs. So it's just nice that it's building excitement within our family. Our friends are like, hey, we got to come over and check that out. And it just makes for an exciting time. And people want to feel good and have a good time. And knowing that we're able to provide that in some kind of sense, to me, is super cool. So shows and movies and stuff have impacted me and Kat's relationship is that it's just brought a little bit more excitement to the space. Kat letting me know, hey, I want to check this movie out downstairs. So it makes me excited right away to know that she is like pre-planning stuff. And I'm like, well, that's when I get that text from her and she's like, hey, I just seen a preview for this movie. We should check it out downstairs. Let's do that. And that just makes me feel good that not only is she accepting of me and my hobby, that she, in some sense, is actually excited herself about it.
So it's nice to have, the theater in the basement where you kind of just like leave the rest of the world and just have a place to go relax and enjoy time together and just gets quality time.
I feel that the theater that Kat and I have, I mean, I built this theater, but her impressions are all over this too because, she helped, like I only want to do 2 seats. She's like, no, you have to do 4. So just having her input on it made the theater special to me. But not only that is we can kind of leave the madness of the rest of the house and the kids and all their crap or whatever they have going on. And it gives me and her an hour or two to just kind of hang out together, get lost in a movie. And we watch a lot of movies together that necessarily, that neither one of us might not watch on our own. So it's cool to check out new stuff and have those experiences with her. We get excited for movie nights around here for sure. So it's an escape within, it's like you build a little vacation spot within your home. So it's cool to have that retreat.
I think, I don't know, there's so many different kinds of movies that we get into from, he's not so much into the chick flicks, but he's a good sport. And, my favorite kind, I don't know, probably stuff like the Transformers and maybe like the action movies, just because, the theater I think is geared more towards like the, what's I don't even know what the right word is, the action like of movies.
I believe that the theater, like many things in life, people have different personalities, and me and Kat click on some things and some things we don't. But when it comes to like movies and stuff, that we're both very accepting of trying new stuff. So she'll maybe push a movie on me that I normally wouldn't watch by myself, and I would do the same to her. But generally, we both enjoy that experience. Like I've watched movies with her that I'm like, hey, you know what, that movie was actually pretty decent. And, I can get her to watch a movie I'm like, let's check out the new Star Trek. She's like, I'm not a Trekkie. And she watches, she's like, we got to watch the rest. And literally, and not to make this answer super long, but we watched the first Star Trek movie and we watched all the rest of them that whole night. So we just completely tore up the whole series.
Yeah, so the only time that I am in the theater generally is when Scott's with, because I don't know how to run all of this equipment, all this crazy equipment. So he's the captain of the ship.
So bass brings us together. We've been doing some of my most favorite of like thoughts and moments and memories of that is just building up this brand with Cat has been absolutely amazing. It's something we talk about almost daily in this household. And we're always thinking of new ideas. Some of them don't come to fruition, some of them do. But just people getting excited, messaging us, hey, we're 6 months from now, we're getting our plane tickets, we're getting our hotels. Can't wait to meet you and Kat. Can't wait to hang out. And when people come here, you know, they're taking pictures with us. They're like, hey, we've been watching you on somebody's podcast or your Facebook page or your own podcast. So it's just that people are using our event, that they're taking vacation time from work and spending their hard-earned money to fly out to hang out with us is very surreal.
Yeah, I really enjoy the fact that we create, pretty much he was, the captain of that, but we've grown it and created it together, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and allows us to get to know more people.
So it's a really a lot of great. All the events have been amazing memories for us. That her and I talk about this stuff when we're just laying around and it's just her and me, and we're talking about stuff from years ago. Like, hey, you remember that guy that was like blown away? We had a guy that like grabbed his heart and jumped out of the room and stuff like that. You just never forget. I mean, so much. Me and Kat are both big believers in. We're not going to be around for, nobody's around for a very long time. So let's try to have as much fun as possible. And I think that events like that have made that possible for us.
All right, so now why don't I have you take me around the room and show me what you're using, your speakers, your surrounds, your subs, your insane amount of subs, and your rack, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about your projector and your projector screen.
In this setup, and I just recently got these because these are the 2025 versions. They just dropped as of the JTR 210 HTs. So I got the left, center, right, and the two side surrounds. They're all matching. The center finally. So I was able to get my hands, after years and years of drooling over Seymour screens, I got one in the room, and I should have made it happen sooner. But like I said, I was so worried about the audio first. But now that I got them, like, man, why didn't I just do this? So now that I have the center where it's supposed to be, I always loved the center where it used to be, but you don't really know until I was jealous of other guys. I'd go to their house and I'd be like, man, their mouth is right where it's coming from. So now I finally have that. So I think that that's cool. But so I got the new 2025 versions, 210 HTs on left, center, right, and side surrounds, and then the JTR HT 110s for the back surround. So the bed layer 7 channels is all JTR's current line, all except for the Atmos speakers. Are currently using the Klipsch Pro inceiling Atmos. The RTJ Atmos inceilings are coming, but like everybody, there is budget, and we all work within a budget. So I prioritize getting the subwoofers done, and then the main speakers, and then next year the RTJ inceilings are coming. So it happens in stages like everything else. So we got 7 bed layer speakers of the JTRs, the Klipsch inceilings, and then for the subwoofers, even though that they're different box configurations, just so everybody knows. So there's 9 Captivator 6000s in this room, which the Captivator series is dual 18, 10 hertz port tune, 6,000 watt RMS amps. So you guys that are watching this are probably very familiar with the Captivator 4000s. Well, that's the 120 volt standard version. You can get an upgraded amplifier with more power if you have 240 volt. So I went with 9 of them. I ran 10 leads of 240 volt into this room. I mean, our electrical in this house is completely maxed out. Like during the very, very most extreme demos, I got to make sure the air conditioner shut off, the central air, because the room will actually pop the whole house breaker. It'll shut the whole house down. 200 amp breaker, it'll flip. So it's extreme, but it was purposely built that way. So certain room size with the equipment that I wanted, and I wanted to have extreme SPL into the single digits, 7, 8, 9 hertz in this room, and the ported Captivators helped that. And not only that, And even during a demo, it was cool that Jordan goes, man, I just feel all this wind hitting my face. And I love that from the port because I don't experience any chuffing or any, you know, like the subs in distress. So you get the bass output and you get the wind, and it just really fell in line with the extreme side of things that I wanted to cover with this. So for the side surround, which matches the left, center, and right, this is the 2025 version of the JTR 210 HT. Dual 10-inch driver, compression driver in the middle, 2,000 watt RMS, Baltic birch cabinet, takes like up to a 2-gauge wire. It's absolutely insane overkill, which I love, by the way. High efficiency, pretty heavy, even though it's a Baltic birch cabinet, which is a little bit, you know, lighter than MDF. It's still, I believe it's around like an 85, 90 pound speaker, but yeah, the 2025 210 HTs. So what's power in the Scott Newby experience? The brain of the operation is the Anthem AVM 70. And then for amplification for all the bed layer speakers is these two Rotel power amplifiers, 5-channel and 7-channel. They're identical, just other than the amount of channels that they have. So because these are all 4-ohm speakers, it produces 350 watts times 7 between the 2 amps in the 4-ohm RMS. And then for the, well, I use this Sapiti, which is whatever. It's amazing for demo reels, and that's why I use it, so that's why it's still in the system. And then I have the Panasonic 820, and then the Sunfire Cinema Grand, which powers the Atmos speakers, which is 200 watts RMS in each channel. And then at the very bottom is a speaker power 6,000 watt 240 volt amplifier that powers all the butt kickers that are tied in, the butt kicker LFEs that are tied into the seats. So in the Scott Newby Experience Theater, I currently running 1818s. So what that is like a subwoofer like this, which is the JTR 6000 Captivator, 4000, 6000, the same, just for simplicity terms. So basically, this is the LP version. Now in this room, I have 5 LP versions, 4 lined up across the back seats. This one's stacked up here. The seats still fully recline. They're the perfect height for the back surrounds to sit on. And then, I mean, this area here, this, I guess we can let Kat know that, I mean, that the 10th one's coming. So surprise. So, and then in the front, I use the talls, and in the sides, I use the sofa tables. So I can put, once again, that's me maximizing the space. The subwoofers all serve a purpose because they're holding the side surrounds, and I use isobaric decouplers to try to separate the speakers from the subs for the surrounds and back surrounds and stuff like that, and even the front speakers. So they're all the same internal volume, port tune, subs, amps. So basically you got 1818s in this room, 3,000 watts per 18, and they're all identical and they're all working together. But yes, so in this room, like I said, 5 LPs, 2 talls, 2 sofa tables, total of 9 cabinets, 1818s, 6,000 watts per cabinet. And that's what we got going for the LFE in this room. And that's what I needed, or that's what I wanted, to be able to push above 150 dB and also have extreme 7 hertz in up output. So this isn't me not knowing anything or what I'm not doing. I wasn't blowing money just to blow it. That this is all very purposely built, for sure.
Okay, so we talked about your subs, we talked about your front sound stage, we talked about your surrounds, the stuff that you're using in the rack. Now why don't we talk about your projector and your screen, because you recently just upgraded to a screen company that I'm going to be upgrading to once I get back home to Houston, Texas. But why don't we talk about your projector? What projector are you using?
So right now I'm using a calibrated JVC 590R. This is pushing 4 years, maybe a little bit older than that. Each iteration I keep seeing they are better than what I have, but it hasn't been a quantum leap where I'm like, I have to have it. I still love this projector. I mean, the image to me is, it's still great. So the 590R that's been calibrated, and then for the screen, and it's crazy to say because I've had this room for so long. I was the center channel underneath the screen guy, and
Same.
And I loved it. It's 400 and something people came through this room and loved that experience. And I just framed out the wall and painted it and put some borders on it. And that was the screen down here for a long time. And everybody's like, oh, what screen is that? I was like, oh, it's just a painted wall. But as I got the audio done, and I was like, okay, I'm very content with the audio. Let's start focusing a little bit more on the video because I need a little help there. And Chris Seymour from Seymour Screens, I mean, he's an excellent guy to deal with, very knowledgeable. He's actually on a podcast of mine. And if you go to any home theater show, there's a Seymour screen somewhere. He makes very quality stuff. And I was like, I'm going to bite the bullet and buy a nice screen. Now, it's not a $5,000 screen, but it's like a $1,300 screen. And to me, that was, who's going to tell you that $1,300 isn't a nice chunk of money? So, as acoustic. Oh, man, I'm going to.
It's getting you.
Cat's going to kill me. If you guys follow our channel at all, I'm in trouble. So I reached out to Chris and I was like, hey, I just want to have a quick conversation with you. I said, man, I'm reading about screens and they want you to be so far off the front center. I'm in a smaller space and I hate the screen door effect and I'm going to lose some brightness in that. He goes, dude, come on. He's like, you're talking to the right guy. He goes, go with this material, UF2, go with that. You're not going to have that. You can have your center channel an inch off of it if you want. It's not going to affect the sound. And I've checked out cheaper screens. And I'm like, man, I'm sitting so close to that the screen door effect is killing me. But you're sitting here. I didn't know screen door effect on this.
I didn't see any screen door effect.
We're 9 feet away, and we just got done doing our demos. We're 9 feet away from a 115-inch screen, 50-degree viewing angle, so very immersive. And there's no screen door effect. And even Jordan says, because Jordan was another center channel below the screen guy. He is still.
Still am, and we'll be changing soon.
Yeah, and that's not bashing on anybody that is. I did it for 10 years. Is that Jordan's like, I could tell just like when their mouth opened that you knew the speaker was right. And it's just, all about building a home theater is about realism. So the more real that we can get it, then I guess, we're doing ourselves better justice, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. Like I told you, I didn't hear your system before you had it when it was, below the screen, but as soon as you started the demos and the dialogue started, I was like, oh, that sounds like it's coming directly behind the screen from the actor's mouths or whoever is talking. So
I was very jealous for years that I would go to shows or people's houses. And I always, people are like, hey, give me your honest opinion. I'd be like, oh, this or that, whatever I think. I'm like, I just want to tell you I'm jealous that your center channel is behind your screen because I know maybe it's a mind thing because I just know the speakers down there that it's not right. It always sounded great, but when you look, the nice clean look that it gives you and that speaker's right there, I don't know. It's I don't say game changing very often because that's an overused term. But I think as you start completing your setup, and I think you're going to feel the same way, as you're going to be like, wow, it's like, instead of just hearing their voice in front of me, it's like they're talking right to me.
Yeah, so I'm super excited when I get back. I'll be placing my order pretty soon. But cool, man. I guess the only other thing to talk about is first of all, what's the dimensions of your space down here so everybody knows?
It's a little odd shape, but a rough dimension just for people would be like 14. So seat to screen that's 14 feet. That the eyes are like 9 feet to the screen. And then the other direction is like right around 16 feet. I got a little closet here that has like the water meter and stuff in it. And just like the way our staircase comes down in the rest of the basement, because this was one whole basement that we split in half for various reasons. So our youngest could have her own playroom. We got like a little arcade and stuff set up in there. Me and her hang out in there. And then obviously we did this half in the theater. The ceiling is like almost 7.5 feet. So that's why I'm doing in-ceiling speakers. Currently the Klipsch, they'll be RTJs by the time of our next big event. But I just want to maximize keeping the speakers as far away from my head as possible. I mean, in an ideal situation, we'd all have 12 or 15 foot ceilings for that. Right. Just doing the best. Unless you're a millionaire, you're doing the best with what you have.
Yeah, and actually, there was a couple more things that I forgot to talk about. So I noticed you've got the room blacked out, but then you've also got, which a lot of you guys do. I'm doing some of it now, but you've got this nice black velvet all the way across that extends. What's that about? Maybe like 4 or 5 feet?
Yeah, it's like 5 feet off the sidewalls and then like 3 feet off the top.
How did that improve? Was that recent? Have you always had it like that?
I've always I just expanded it over, like, and I got velvet across the top of the subs at the bottom of the screen. And this is, you know, something you can do fairly cheap, regardless of what projector. If you got a $500 projector or a $50,000 projector, I mean, you're taking your contrast level up, you know, the perceived contrast for sure. So yeah, I've always, it's funny because we all work within a budget. When I talk about people with budget and they're like, well, you bought 9 expensive subwoofers, but no, I still DIY'd blacking out around my screen because I was like, what can I do for $50 to like make some improvements in this space? And I think that as we all share our experiences, because when I first built the room, I didn't have it that way. I went to a guy's home theater. He was all blacked out on the sides. I was like, that's awesome. That's like $40 of stuff at, you know, Joann Fabrics. So I did the ceiling, a little bit on underneath, all the sides. And you can even see in this video, like behind Jordan's head, look how much different between now that's a matte finish paint of gray, and then it's black velvet, and how it just, I mean, it's a night and day difference.
Night and day difference, and it just improves the contrast. My home theater was blacked out, and then I did the same thing. I took some black velvet, and it made the contrast pop even more. So, okay, so the other two things I wanted to briefly talk about is your back surrounds, your rear surrounds, and then your in-ceiling speakers.
Okay, so currently, well, my main 7 speakers are going to stay put. So the HT 110s are a great match with the 210s. They sit on top of subwoofers. They're at the right height for back surrounds. I mean, they're 750 watt, good sensitivity. You know, you never feel like you're lacking anything with them. So those are great. The in-ceiling Klipsch 8-inch Pros that I'm using, you get a good Atmos experience, not perfect, and that's why that'll be changed. Only because of Jordan's timing of coming to Chicago. That's why they're not installed, because RTJ in-ceilings, which will match the rest of the setup. In most typical rooms, if you have an 8 or 10 foot ceiling, you could go with the HT 110s or the slanted 110s that JTR offers and mount them on the ceiling. But once again, this is me trying to keep the speakers as far away from my head as possible because I only have 7.5 feet. And those would be 750 watt, two-way to match the surrounds, the back surrounds. And it's the best way that I can try to keep all the speakers to match exactly, because the more you're able to do that, the sound characteristics are the same as each other. And that bubble of sound that we're all chasing, of feeling like you're right in the middle of the action, the realism is, it's as real as I'm going to be able to get it. So that's why I'm going that route.
Great. Well, man, awesome home theater. I can't wait to check out the 150 dB demos that we're going to be doing tomorrow. I've got my earplugs. Really cool room, man. The bass is incredible in here already. Can't imagine what it's going to be like tomorrow.
You mean with those sloppy ported 18-inch subs? We were reading some of the comments of like, you can't have 18-inch subs in a room. You can't do ported. It sounds...
You definitely can.
Yeah. I played a specific track for him with a bunch of machine guns firing back and forth at a high level. And what was your thoughts?
I was like, if this goes any louder, I may have to go get my earplugs. But it sounded incredible. Like I told you, like my whole body was vibrating, my back was getting massaged. I could feel it in the chest. The seats, it was almost like you had a bunch of Crosons in there. They're full of butt kickers. They're full of butt kickers.
Yeah,
really.
Each seat has a butt kicker LFE.
See, I didn't even know.
Yeah,
so you got it blended perfectly.
Yeah, see, and that is the biggest. And this isn't staged or scripted. This is awesome that this came out like this. Is that for the people that believe that butt kickers and that are gimmicky? If you spend the time and dial them in rightly, Jordan's in this hobby. He's one of those guys. He didn't even know I had them
until right now.
Yeah. So each seat has a butt kicker LFE mounted to it. Seeing 1500 watts RMS, that's what that other speaker power amplifier in the rack is powering. And yeah, and it's the time spent in the calibration of not only the speakers, and that is just me down here for days on end rewatching the same clips. So and I wanted to point out to Jordan when he watched it, like, hey, so those machine guns, where there's 5 machine guns going off, what did you think? And he's like, it was tight, it was controlled. So if you're running butt kickers, 18s ported, to make all of that play tight, it is a lot of calibration. But see, all my time was worth it because now Jordan just concreted that I did a good job.
Excellent job, man. Phenomenal job. Like I said, I'm excited to experience, you know, what we're going to be doing tomorrow. And make sure you stay tuned for that video too, because we're going to be doing some reactions. Don't know how it's going to be, don't know what it's going to be like yet, but we're going to do some reactions and my reactions as well. Well, we've got about 30 minutes before we have to head out to another home theater tour. You know, craziness. We've been running every day since yesterday. I think I went to bed at like 1 a.m. Last night, and it's probably going to be the same again today. So if you guys appreciate these videos, these home theater tours, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you share it with your friends. And if you're not subscribed to either one of our channels already, make sure you subscribe to support us. He's got the bass, brings us together. I'm doing the home theater tours. Jordan, Hatoraid Cowboy, Scott, we appreciate you watching, and we will catch you in the next video.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.